All right, so I've done a real quick thing, and I'll show you just a little bit what I was thinking. So, right in, I don't even know how to do this. There we go. Ha! So you can see what I was drawing out is this will be the part that goes into my receiver. I've got a piece of 2 1/4, another piece of 2 1/4, another piece of 2-inch. That's the receiver tube. That's going to get slightly welded into here just to give me a little bit more space between my bumper and where my cylinder rack will be. And this 2 1/4, sorry, 2 1/2, going to this 2 1/2. Then I have some 3 1/2 inch wide strap that's actually right about 532 thick. And I'm going to, this is my side view, transferred everything over with my transfer lines, my construction lines. So I've got my hitch pinhole. And I'm going to take that 3 1/2 inch flat strap and I'm going to notch it either once or maybe even a second time to make it a little bit more of a cradle and fit a cylinder. Now, my biggest cylinder is my propane heater right now. I want to be able to transport this to the propane facility to get it filled up. But then my welding cylinders, they're probably I'll write that down here. Big is about 14 inches in diameter. And my small ones, I want to say it's about 7 or so inches in diameter. So that's kind of a big difference there, but I want to be able to strap down both these without having to like switch this out. So I might even make these a little bit smaller, but I'm going to have a little bit of a notch, maybe 2 notches, so it comes up and then cradles again. And then either I'm going to put a hole or I'm going to weld a piece of chain on. That way I can put my ratchet strap up and over the tank. I don't need a very long ratchet strap, but in that case it might even go up and around and then back over, so it's really secure in place. So 2 1/2, 2 1/2, and then my 2, and this is a piece of that 3 1/2 by 532 flat strap, and then there's another piece right there. And those will get welded after they're cutted. We're gonna probably just notch it, right? So we can put a break right here and a break right here. So it starts coming up. And then we might put another break. And when I say break, I mean bend. All right, so we're gonna take the grinder and thin this out a little bit and bend it with our hands. And then I'm gonna take and weld that grind mark back up on both those wings. So they'll have one on this side and you'll have one on that side, and then their cylinder will just lay across there. Now, I did some research on like transporting gas and like what OSHA versus some other transportation things require or allow, and from what I can gather, this is still going to be okay. I know the preferred method is an upright going like this. That's preferred method of transport. All right, so what I've done now is I've laid out my marks, found the center line of my shortest piece, and then I put a 3-inch mark away from each other. And that's where I'm going to score it with a grinder. That way that I can go in here and start bending it up a little bit. My longer piece, I'm going to cut that down first. Right, also to show you kind of how this will work is I'll take this, you see how I can bend it just like that. Alright, so I've got a little angle finder here, and it's going to hopefully help me figure out what my angles are right now. And I will put this on the outside. There we go, bud. And then I'm just gonna, like I said earlier, I'm gonna take and weld each of these joints up, and that way it'll be nice and sturdy. All right, so I've decided to don my apron. Fun fact, when I first moved out to Utah and I started working as a welder, I went back home for Christmas, and my mom had gotten me gloves, this apron, and my very first welding helmet, which is this one right here. Now, it currently only has a fixed shade in it, but when I got it from her, it was an auto darkening, and for that time, it was a pretty sweet deal. All right, well, let's get this one scored up so it matches our other one. Voila, two pretty dang good matches. I'm just gonna take my sanding pad now, and I'm going to just clean this up a little bit so it's not so rough. Alright, those are pretty much ready to get figured out next. So next thing I need to do is figure out how I'm going to strap the tanks onto the side of this, and that will be a problem. Maybe. Alright, so what I'm going to do is actually, I've got some of this 1-inch Schedule 40 pipe, and I'm going to take and cut probably 4 1/4-inch slices, and then I'm going to take those slices and I'm going to weld them to the side, just inside there, and have it thick enough that it's not going to just bend on me and break, but also not too thick that it's in the way. Alright, so busted out the Evolution. Love this saw. Thought time for a new blade, but haven't got one yet. So I'm gonna get my little marker here. Rona. Too soon? Too soon. All right. So now these are good, but they got that burr on them. So I'm gonna clean those up. Got those 4 pieces right there cleaned up. And my thought is I'm going to put them probably like that. Enough that I can get a toe strap hook through it. And I might even put it down here on the short side. And that way, the main thing for this metal is just to hold that tank secure in place. And if I put this here, and even if the strap goes around it, as long as it's pulling down to there, I think I'll be alright. So that'll get offset to right there. Alright, so we've got this kind of all laid out-ish right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find center of here, and at 26 and 5/16, that's going to be, could be a bit of a challenge. And so what we want to do is try and chunk that number up so that we can find the center easily. So if I know the half of 2 on 26 is 1, so I know I'm in the tens or the teens, and the half of 6 is 3, so that would be 13. So I know that I'm in the range of 13 somewhere. And then 5/16. Now 5 doesn't divide in half very easily. It's 2.5, right? But on that, I go the next hold or fraction down, and for me that's a quarter, right? So instead of 5/16, I go to a quarter. I know that that is half of a quarter is an 8, so 13 and an 8. But I also got to remember my half of 16, so I'm like 13 and 3/32 is technically where I'm at. So I'm gonna put a mark between 3/16 and an 8, and that should be pretty close to my halfway point. Now, the other trick that I've got for you here is if you want to make sure you did that right, you measure from this side 13 and 3/32, flip it over here, and I, boom, should have 13 and 3/32. So if you measure from both sides and you get the same angle, same measurement, then you're gonna have your exact center, okay? And so I have this piece of tubing that I'm gonna put my hole in, and it wasn't quite long enough, at least not for what I felt comfortable with. It's the right size, it's the 2-inch receiver tubing. So I have this other piece of 2.5, and I'm going to just barely insert that down in here. Now these are going to get welded right here, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my pieces of pipe that I cut, and I'm going to tack them just inside there. Well, Eddie's ready, so that means I guess we're ready. And we're just going to tack this thing together real quick, and get my welding gloves so I'm protected up. Get those inside there, nice and comfy. Good. And what we're gonna do, I've already made a center line on here. Now I made a center line on my short little stub here, and I'm going to give me a tack. Thank you, Assistant Eddie. So what we're gonna do is just make sure that this style of hook can get in and out. Obviously that's not a ton of, it's not very big. We'll just make sure that we can get through there, alright? So, not quite half on. So I'm just gonna bring you up close and show you what I've done. We've got these. Ready, Eddie? Yeah. Okay, Eddie's ready. Give us a little tack.
My touch still.
All right. So now that we're gonna tack this together, I want to just test fit this into the car first, because there's no sense in welding this all the way up. It's not going to work. So because this has it's definitely looser, right? Right, definitely looser. So we want to be able to put this up and try and keep it on the same plane as much as possible. So I'm going to check, make sure that this was squared on here, and it is. Okay. And now I'm going to pull this out and just barely get it in on that edge. And I will put 4 good tacks on here. Okay, so that's good. We're going to tack that in here, and then we'll go check it on the car. Actually fit really good. Imagine that. So our plan worked out. Let's go back and so the plan we had was this, essentially. We did modify a little bit about where our loops went out there, and our tanks are like this. So that's what it turned out to be. We've got our little ratchet strap hooks on there. Okay, so now I'm going to take this and just see how it fits on our big tank. That one fits perfect. Now we're going to test fit the small tanks, okay? And looking at our tanks right here, we're going to have plenty of room to get those on there. And again, these are just tiny ones, but it's definitely big enough that if I ever need to upgrade to larger tanks, that I will go. So you can see we are just about out of gas. We're gonna weld up our cut edges. That way we can make sure they don't break later on. Okay, so we're just gonna do some welding here. And this stuff will probably speed up because I don't know how interesting it would be. Maybe. Always gotta stop once in a while, clean that nozzle out. It's gonna get lots of spatter. Put the end of it. I'm gonna do across here now. Let's take a look at these welds. Not too bad. Get rid of all the spatter if possible. These ones I went straight. These ones I oscillated. The settings were probably a little bit higher than I needed them to be. The backside, those loops were a loop to weld for sure. Alright, so we're at our drilling phase. I've got a 1/4 inch pilot bit, and I've got my 5/8 through bit. And that should get us all the way through. I guess just where are we gonna line this up? That one's kind of difficult, I think. So we lined up. Sliding T-bevel. That's what it's called. I've got a sliding T-bevel here. So I'm going to okay, this is my mag drill. It's got a little swivel. This is more than I mostly will need, but you never know when you might need something like it, and you'll need it. So, another fun fact, so the apron was a gift from my mom when I first started welding, and when I went back to Ohio to get the house sold, and I was fortunate enough to find a bunch of my dad's oil cans. So I have 2 or 3 of these old oil cans that I use now when I'm in the shop. We didn't drill into the table. That's good, don't drill into the table. Okay, here we go. Out into the wild. Hopefully I don't come within 6 feet of somebody. Moment of truth, right? Ooh. Doesn't fit all the way. gonna have to shave some out. I just took a hand drill and I slightly opened up that hole. So now it just needed, on this side only, needed to come out and down that way. So test fit. Let's see here. Ah, perfect. So there we go. All that. I think we're done.